press thanks, Zoom. So this is Suze. For those of you who may not have met Suze,
hi ladies.
Do you want to just knock around and introduce yourselves?
I'm Josie.
Josie.
And Suze Josie. I'm Lauren. Please.
Yeah. So this is our little group, and then hopefully when you have that Facebook group, you guys will be able to, if you've got like little problems, you can also message me, but also each other if you need to. I think that's one of the nice things. So I won't do heaps today. We'll get kind of what I want to do is here we, I guess you're at in terms of your ideas, and we can kind of troubleshoot and work out where, if you've started, where you're having trouble like with starting, because I think that's the hardest bit. What sort of resources you need, whether it's starting choreography, finding music, finding costumes or supplies, all of that kind of stuff. So kind of we'll use today as a bit of a springboard. And then from there, just organise your like proper one-on-one with me, and we'll actually start with you and your routine. But I feel like when you start out, all the problems everyone has are all the same. Well, not all the same, but often similar. Well, since I'm looking at you, Suze, I want to put you on the spot, because also I know that you've got a song.
Yeah, so I guess my thing is, there's a few things that have been going around my head. And first of all, I need to sort of be really upfront about the fact that I'm really sort of struggling with the whole idea of feeling like I'm ready to do this. I thought I was ready, but as I started to sort of think about it and brainstorm, I thought, oh my God, I don't know if I can. And I think for me is, and you probably would have had this back in the early days, Grace, was started out, dancing. And so I feel like I need to, when I go on stage, that I should be doing something that's not, I guess something that's sort of, moving to music and having some sort of skill. So I'm sort of battling with how much do I need to bring dance in versus, the whole burlesque thing. And only doing a couple of terms, well, I think, a couple of terms with you. And I think the second term we kind of had to cut short because of COVID. I don't feel like I've got a lot of strong burlesque experience. So I'm kind of feeling a little bit torn with the bringing in the two elements of dance and performance, which is why I guess I've come up with an idea, and I'd love your feedback. So the songs are Seven Nation Army. And so the first one would be the original version, which is quite sort of a lot of bass and sort of quite sort of modern. And then I found, and I can sort of find the pieces on my phone if you want to hear them, if you can hear them properly. And then to go into, there's a very cool postmodern jukebox version that is very burlesque. So what I'm thinking is, so the original sort of modern version, where I'd come in and do the skills of dance that I have left as nearly 50. There's a few skills left, but not many. And then just sort of do a little bit of a dance thing, and then let that sort of music transition into the more burlesque type version. And then that's where I'd start to bring those elements into the routine. So I'd have a sort of a soldier type costume, I guess, with a coat, and that would come off, and a hat, and then I'd have underneath sort of, I've got an old sequin costume that I made for a routine that I did when I was still dancing many years ago, with a sequin bra and a little skirt that I could then start peeling off gloves and bits and pieces as I come through. So that's about as far as I've gotten. And the other part,
that's pretty good.
is, well, I guess I've been thinking about it for a long time, but never really I've had so many different ideas, but they've always been dance-based ideas. Since I've been really struggling to bring the burlesque in, because it's kind of like, when I don't know, it's hard to sort of blend the two, I think, because I haven't had as much burlesque experience as I have dance experience. So that's the struggle for me, or not the struggle, but the challenge, I guess, for me, is to try and bring the two together without it looking like I'm coming out to do a jazz solo and then bring in the burlesque at the same time.
Well, I think that's really cool. I think everyone, I don't know, I've got a mix of like dancers and people who don't necessarily come from a dance background. I think you all
never dance.
Yeah, I was going to say, I think everyone thinks the reverse. Is that right? Like if you don't have dance experience, you feel like worse because
stage presence.
Stage presence, exactly.
I'm relying on stage presence.
That's right. And then if you've got from a dance background, you feel like I can dance, but I don't know about the other
Yeah.
side of things. So I think you always feel insecure about one. I think it sounds also cool. It sounds also a reverse of what a lot of performers do, which is they come out to the burlesque version and switch into an upbeat version. And I like the idea that actually that's flipped on its head and you're starting upbeat. And I know that I wouldn't have listened to the original for a long time, but I actually like the idea that you sort of flip it and you go in like more high energy into the striptease or the burlesque side of things, and sometimes having a song change can be a good mood, like what's the word, a mood break or a circuit break in a song, so it can kind of let the audience know where you're going, and it changes the tone for people.
Yeah, and I think for me, and I can probably, maybe I'll post the YouTube links on our page so you guys can have a listen and
Yes,
give me some feedback on how you think it might work. I guess for me, the thing is that it kind of lets me tap into those two sides of me. Like I'm very Gemini, so it's kind of like the being torn between which part of me I should put on the stage. The other thing that I'm really struggling with at the moment is, I don't know how old you ladies are, but heading toward 50, I'm very perimenopausal, and so I have absolutely no libido, and I'm absolutely cranky and self-loathing, and I hate myself, and all that stuff that comes with hormonal imbalance. So I'm really sort of trying to push myself to tap into my sensual side, which I'm finding really hard because I don't feel sensual. I don't feel attractive even. You know, we all have days where we look in the mirror and go, ugh. And I feel like I'm having more of those than anything else at the moment. So that's where I feel like I'm going to concentrate on that dance element. And then as I start to sort of feel better about that, then hopefully I'll be able to tap more into that sensual side that I feel like I'm lacking a little bit at the moment, which hopefully will pass.
Sexy side of your burlesque, so it doesn't always have to be like that was me making like a sexy face.
Yeah.
It was really good, wasn't it? Very sexy. You know, you can think of other like words. So even, you know, thinking about what your stage name might be, what words sort of, or colours, or motifs that are associated with that. I wish I'd thought of more of that when I started, because it would have helped me like navigate my way through better. I often say come back to that, and that doesn't have to be sexy. It can be, you can focus in on strong, you know, rather than maybe thinking like I have to be sexy. You could think about being, I don't know, like you could think about being strong or powerful, or things that maybe are more about your stage presence, which you definitely have. Like I've seen you on stage before and all those things. So you could think about things that maybe tap into that side, which might help you then feel a bit more like present, confident. Because I definitely feel like I'm not 20 anymore, and I'm close. I never understood the phrase early mid-30s until I hit past 35, and I was like, yeah. And like as I get close to 40, and I'm very conscious of the fact I'm not 20 anymore, and you're in that weird. I get weird around I'm a Leo, and I get weird around my birthday, so I can completely understand that sort of things of starting to feel old, and my body dysmorphia definitely plays with me. And I find when I think about being on stage, I focus on the character and some of the words I associate with my stage persona, which is close to my personality but not the same. That just helps me so that I'm not there thinking I have to be this sexy person, or you know, really glamorous, or whatever it is. It helps me sort of focus a bit more on performing and what the feeling I want with the audience, or that, I don't know, some other people might have a better way of phrasing this, but sometimes that helps me focus on the performance thing rather than getting too much on myself. Because you do feel, you know what it's like, you do feel really good when you're on stage and when you get that sort of buzz, but you can definitely get in your own way by thinking, oh God, what should I be eating? What should I look like? All of those things can definitely get in your own way. And I definitely, you know, definitely experience that with my body dysmorphia, and sort of that history there. So that's definitely something that I try and focus on, the other words, and other kind of elements of performing that aren't necessarily about me being sexy, or I think sexy is a really loaded word. So I think being funny, I think being funny is sexy, you know, or being
totally. Even confidence, I guess, is sexy. So it's no, that's all very valid points. And I get and I kind of know, you know, when you kind of know that in the back of your head, but you sort of, you know, you don't allow yourself to sort of bring that to the surface. And I'm sure I'll get to that point soon. It's just where I currently sit. So I kind of feel a bit stagnant in this whole sort of process. So I don't feel very creative as far as studying choreography or any of that sort of stuff yet, but I'm sure it will come at some point. But they're all valid points. So thank you for the reminder.
All right, someone else had a bit, I phrase that very badly. Better advice.
Yeah, it makes sense, because that's kind of what I want to do, because my sort of ideas are not, I don't really want to get up and be like the funny fat girl or the, you know, the classic like pin-up hourglass waist thing. I'm really the song that I think I've chosen is more like heavy, it's darker, and I don't know, I think Ellen, Velvet Butterfly, told me about Gorlesque.
Yes.
And that inspires me so much. So I kind of, and I was talking to Josie last night, that I want to, with what I'm doing, because the body dysmorphia stuff and everything you were saying is like, yes, 100% agree. So my idea is that, I don't know, show that something that's scary or strange can be beautiful.
Yeah, absolutely.
So, because that really helped me. Someone's like, it's like, I want to perform for people in the audience like me. The first time I saw a performance, it was seeing someone dance in bare feet and not in heels. And I was like, oh wow, I can actually do that.
Yeah, like you could do that. Chicago.
Yes.
She's sexy. And she doesn't look like any of the things I've been told it's supposed to be.
I was going to say one thing that, and I might make it of just, if you see me go like this, I'm just writing notes on my phone because it's like my Bible. Is find some, if you haven't already, find some burlesque performers, you know, to go and stalk. I always recommend as well finding a mixture of people that are out now, and you know, like look at some of the old, sometimes the footage is a bit grainy and stuff, but look at some of the older performers from that are still performing now, because they have skills that performers today don't have around stage presence, just that energy that they bring. So I'll find a link and put it in your group, but look at the Legends Night from the Burlesque Hall of Fame. Now, some of the people you look and you might, it's a bit more like occasionally they're honestly on stage in a wheelchair moving around to a song and having a bit of a moment of acknowledgement of their career. But you do get a lot of performers that come on and they're, you know, in their 70s. And I find that not that any of us are reaching 70, but I find that their skill around stage presence and confidence is probably more assured. There is something about watching people that obviously have a lifetime of experience under their belt. Yes, they're not doing the jump down, knee drops, back bends, any of that stuff, but you don't need to. And I think that's a really, unlike us, we're all doing that. But actually,
days are gone.
Good to go and watch some of those people, because it does remind you, you know, yes, sometimes it's good to have a gimmick or to have something in your routine, but you don't need it. You know, you need that assure, that sort of, and I think when I was watching those people, it reminds you why you like watching burlesque, you know, how important that craftsmanship is, and it's not necessarily about every trick. Nice costumes, great, but it's also, I think, the thing that that we can all sort of hone together is getting a bit of that stage presence and stagecraft, and letting you guys then bring all your ideas into that, because that's the thing that what makes a good act. You know, like there's performers that are dance-based and there's so much dancing, there's nothing to rest your eye on. There's performers that maybe don't have a dance background and therefore sometimes struggle with the stagecraft and crafting an act so that it's got peaks and troughs, and, you know. So it's just actually thinking what makes watching a lot of performers, you start to get an idea of that's what I like watching, or what, like Liz was saying, sometimes seeing that performer that, you want to shut that door, like keep the heat in. That sometimes is a really good way. I'd say, you know, watch it in the sense of think about what do I like about watching. Does anyone have like a favourite performer that they've been watching already, and what it is they like about them? Like, who was the performer that you saw? Do you remember?
I don't know, it's like the first one I went to. Yeah, I remember she was wearing white and like a green sort of flowy dress, and she's bigger. That's all I remember.
Oh, that's all right. I'll try and find some. Is there anyone that you guys were watching when you were preparing for your last solo that you watched a lot of?
I didn't watch anyone because I was afraid I'd like accidentally wake up.
Freaky
I made that up, but no, you didn't.
Yeah.
Like you absorb that.
It's yeah, it is a fine line. Like even watching, but you could even watch some like other dances and sort of see what. Like I watched some. Yeah, I was going to say sometimes watching a different style of dance. I watched Lee Cuxon, Mao's Last Dancer, when he returned to Queensland Ballet Company in his 50s. Go find the footage of that. Like watching, you know, if you're sort of nervous about, he can't jump as high as he could when he first came to, you know, Australia. Doesn't matter.
Oh, when I went to Launceston and saw the Shrek Less performance, like that was just an entire cast of people that were incredible.
Right, I was thinking Rainbow. Yeah.
All of them, essentially, and they all did so like different things, like it was, yeah, and seeing it live.
Yeah. Yeah, I would definitely say I'll find the Legends of Burlesque stuff, because that's really good to watch. And it's really good, you know, find a couple of performers, watch them. I think what is I like about watching them, like if it's more their aesthetic, because that can help you. But also, you know, or is it something that they consistently do in their acts, or a way that they create things, or the way they tell stories. You know, I tend to watch people and look at people who move in a way that I move, and see, you know, what it is they're doing with their arms, or things, little things like that, because I can be a bit sloppy. So sometimes I like to, yeah, sort of pick those craft things up. Yeah. But you're right, it's a fine line of watching them and then getting too in your head and getting nervous from watching too much, or feeling like you're copying someone else's style. But it's definitely good to watch. I was thinking as well, Suze, and then I'll flip over, but also don't feel like you have to take off every item of thing. You know, sometimes when I was working last term, I'm sure she won't mind me saying, I was working with Ash, who has a dance background like you. And one of the things was there's so much going on, we actually need to like stop, slow down, maybe not take as much off, or maybe take a few steps out to give you more time. So, you know, if you've got sort of your costume and it doesn't make sense for the skirt bit to come off, or the bra to come off, you know, or the gloves, or I worked with another performer last year and she had like stole, gloves, dress, fans. It was too much. It was like, we've only got 3 minutes. Don't feel like everything's got to, yeah, come off, because you've only got so many minutes on stage. Better to take one thing off well. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So that was going to be a question actually. So what is usually the time frame? Is it 3 minutes is the usual?
I don't have a limit. I won't boot you off the stage, but I would say 3 to 4 minutes is good. 2.5 minutes minimum, I reckon. I think if you do any less than 2.5, you're not giving yourself a fair chance. And then anything longer than 4 minutes, I think could be a bit risky. It depends a little bit on your persona though. Like if you feel confident for 5 minutes, like go for it. And especially if you're mixing 2 songs, it might make more sense to have a slightly longer act, because you've got half and half. But it's more challenging to go for longer.
Yeah, sounds like
And I guess that's the thing. And I was talking to my husband about it, and I said, I don't know what you do. And he said, just chill and just breathe. He said, it's your first time. So just, you don't need to put an expectation on yourself for it. It doesn't need to go for ages. It doesn't need to be amazing. It just needs to be something that you get out and do, and it's outside of your comfort zone, and you're achieving something, you know. So at the end of the day, it should be fun and it should be positive, and I need to just keep concentrating on that.
He needs to come and give us all that life lesson. That's good advice. We're not doing rocket science. We're not saving the world. It's just a show. And also, if you get to like October, November, you just go, look, it's not happening, we just stick you on another show too. That goes for all of you. you just go, oh, it's not happening, I want another 3 or 4 months, go for it. Like, again, it's not worth giving yourself an anxiety attack over a burlesque show.
That's far better than mine. I said, "Nicholas, I just take a shirt off."
Take it close, well, that's it, we're not saving the world
Yes.
yet. Okay, well, Liz, do you want to tell me then a little bit, or tell us all a bit about your idea then, since I've sort of got a bit of a vibe? It sounds very cool.
So I've got this 2 songs that they're kind of one of them is a mashup song as well. One of them is quite sort of slow. It's almost, would you say it's acoustic? But
Yeah,
the
it's
first-
almost, it reminds me of like Nick Cave unplugged.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah. So
In a good way, in a good way.
yeah, and it's sort of got the main like chorus line thing is I won't let this build up inside of me. And then there's kind of I guess a similar track which is like heavy metal,
Yep.
which has different lyrics except for that same line. And so my idea was to start off slow. And I think I really love fans. And so I think I'll do
Yes.
like a couple of different styles of fan.
Yeah.
Because I don't think, that's my strength, I don't think I can do one type of flog for a whole, like, 3-4 minutes. So I was thinking like, this is a giant fan, but it will be very
Have it open up.
giant fan that I'm gonna use and put feathers on, so it'll be that big.
Yeah.
And make it quite slow because
Yeah.
I can't
It's heavy.
fast. And then have in the fast bit do it with small silk fans.
Yeah.
Just because I know for me that works out completely different parts of my arms and shoulders, and I can actually do both.
And also it gives you
Yeah.
something, I was gonna say what is good, is both of you know, both of you pointing, having a prop is good.
Yeah.
Give you
I love
something to
props.
Give you something to do. So I was thinking, Susan, with yours like a hat, gives you stuff to do.
Yeah.
Yeah, having that or do you use koi? You told me that one.
I have koi. I have koi that have, I mean, I'd probably make it better. They've got like ribbons on them. I've got lighter ones. I also have finer ones, but I don't do that.
Not unless you have your fire insurance, no.
Well, and angels get scary. No.
Take out the curtains.
No.
But it
So
is,
that's kind of my idea, and it, I kind of want to hear it dark. Moody, and I'm not really sure, I guess I'll have to see how I go, whether I actually am taking off clothing, or, and I think this is the fans, whether it's I incorporate fans into my costume and take fans off, but still wear something underneath.
yeah, just.
So, even though it's kind of like the tease is,
Like,
yeah, so I guess I have like a few ideas for costume. My thing is though, is like, I don't know, I don't know how to get started with the whole program thing.
Yeah.
Yes.
Well-
And I also think I don't know, because I'm quite nervous about it, that whole state. Yeah, that's probably the right struggle.
I think with choreography, we might not have time to like do it as a group, but I'll set you like an exercise you can do at home, which is like something that we've done in class before. I teach it when I teach beginner workshops, which is, we did it last term where I made you do all the stupid faces. Remember, and I was like, do happy puppy, do.
Oh,
I was like, so Suze, it's a good exercise for dancers because we're so used to being this.
Stage smile.
But dance mum smile, look at the judge, things like that. So there's-
doing the second row.
so there's
Oh,
two-
actually, no, never
Let's not do that. So that's 2 exercises I'd say is good. One is like steps, simple. I'll put them in a thing, but it's like a couple of walks forward, a couple of grinds, walk back, a couple of grinds. Grab your leg. It was a very simple couple of steps. And I have a song that I'll send you that I said it to. So the first challenge is change your face. So each time you do a rotation as it repeats, that's 6 times, change your face. So I'll give you guys some cues. So like I say, like you're a happy puppy going for a walk. or like a tiger growling, and you might do some faces. What else? You're really angry, you're really shy, you're pissed off. So some cues like that just to practice, like what does that look like? So that if you hear it in the lyrics, you can connect a face. The other thing that exercise you can do is put your playlist on shuffle. And work out, okay, my steps are 3 walks forward and 2 grinds. What does that look like to the classic song there? What does it look like to Seven Nation Army? What does it look like if I put on Eminem? And I do that a lot. It helps me kind of, because then you suddenly flow into a couple of other steps. And you start to think a little bit like, well, I know my 4, because I have about 4 moves, but it's just thinking, how would I do it to that music? And sometimes that can inspire you when you're not sure, like how to start, is just take your 4 grinds or your 4 walks and try and do it differently to different songs. And then you'll find something different in those moves every time. So if you're getting stuck, it's like, okay, a walk, a grind, and a tracing move, and put it to different music and start to see what you find in those steps every time. Or find the peak within your song too is the good bit, because sometimes you know, oh, I want to do a head turn on that because there's a really strong bit in the music, or I want to, oh, it's reminding me to kick off, or I want to do a shimmy here or something like that, and work around that phrase of music. That's another really good way if you're not sure where to start. So I'll set you guys like a little tip, which then if you do that and set up your, like when we go through your routine one-on-one, we can kind of build from there. Okay, I'm going to set some homework for you. So some face homework and some leg homework.
It's cool because I still have like,
I have the video
a giant
somewhere.
playlist of things that I want to do, like music ideas.
Yeah.
So yeah, that would be cool.
It's
And
a
I've got
if you just need something to start, sometimes that's a good way of just getting the juices flowing. The awful expression is juices flowing. Okay, so Jo, are you doing new routine, Jo? Old routine? No, new routine.
The last one was more comedic.
Yes.
I'm working on a different comedic one, so I tried to work on this one. I got distracted with like do this.
That's always
really fun. But no, I just focus on doing it. It's just like
Yes.
a topic. Yeah, I have very much like a popular lady next year. But this one will be to the song Never Enough, which is from the Great Sherman soundtrack,
Yes.
and be with bands. And honestly, do something more slow and sort of essential, but let's see if I can still command stage presence, command attention.
Yeah.
If I'm not jumping around singing into a duet with my head.
Yeah.
Because, you know,
That's
that's
definitely hard. Like it's definitely hard, yeah.
well, yeah, and so the idea would be the song starts with like this really kind of like piano interlude part, and so partly on the floor with the bands, and then the first line is, I'm trying to catch my breath, and then say, but to move the bands like really slowly, and then when you slowly get up, and she's like, you know, all the stars, from the night sky, like Mount Strong, that will be enough, you know,
it's a beautiful song.
yeah, it builds up, and
I think the challenge with stuff with slow and like, yeah, when you're cutting into a slow track or you're also in an acoustic track is not to rip you, not to feel rushed.
Yeah.
Is really the hard thing. So, and to make everything big and slow. It could also be worthwhile like looking at different versions of the song
yeah,
too,
we
because
do.
sometimes that's,
You've got like what, at least 4 of you.
oh, you've got more. Like, it's like Forties Avenue do a version, it's
Yeah.
like Wonder Woman singing it, rather than a band. Then there's some where there's like the band all singing together, and it's sort of, but actually Kelly Clarkson, because I watched it with Clarkson.
yeah.
And then she has a version of the song, I wonder, actually, that work.
Yeah, and it's good sometimes because sometimes when you use a modern song or something newer,
Yeah,
the challenge is making sure that it looks like an act and not like you, like I find the challenge for me is not looking like I'm dancing in my bedroom. you know, when video hits is on or something, or like when I'm at the gym and I do a little routine in my head or something. So sometimes when you kind of cover it, breaks the little cycle in your brain.
Like an whole, I mean, it's the opposite of song.
Yeah.
So it wasn't like, maybe that won't be one people remember as, you know, Hugh Jackman.
Yeah, but even if they should, like, it's okay. You know, we've all seen lots of like, well, I've seen lots of. I saw the movie when it came out, but I can't remember too much about it. But I remember I was thinking, like, you know, we've all seen lots of like Phyllis routines like Fever or thinking like there's quite a lot of this Harlem Nocturne. Everyone's in a routine to Harlem Nocturne. There's lots of songs in the olden days as well people used to fight over. So there's lots of songs that are like people use that are popular. So there's never anything wrong with using something popular. It's just making sure that you make it your own.
Is there like, because I feel like when I've watched a few shows, I mean, maybe like student shows are different because everyone achieves no matter what you do, which is amazing.
Yes, that's true.
But I just noticed it like Burlesque After Dark. It's like if people know the music, they get into it a lot more, and pretty much everything that is on my list, people don't know. So is that like a problem, do you think?
No, because I don't think I pick songs that are super well known. Like I've done some Kate Noonan, some because it depends what your taste is as well.
Yeah.
Like I was thinking, there was a person that went on stage, I didn't know either of her songs. They might have been modern songs, but I'm so old, I don't know what the kids listen to these days. So I think, you know, I think an upbeat song people will always clap along to. So you've got to be prepared for the.
Yeah.
So Seven Nations, you will probably get a bit of a, you know, na 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 na, you know, you'll get a bit of that going on. Like that will happen. I think it's just people get enthusiastic.
Yeah.
So much as they know the song. Yeah. So that's. I don't think it's an advantage or a disadvantage, but just if you're using a less well-known song, you might need to give the audience time to settle into it. Like I didn't know Lauren's song super well, but then you get the vibe of it pretty quick. And it's also nice sometimes because like I'm, you know, like it's nothing wrong with this is not me throwing shade at you because I haven't, no one has used the Seven Nation Army cover, but in there's a school in Brisbane and I've seen like lots and lots of postmodern jukebox routines, and I'd be like, if I was the audience, I'd be like, oh, here we go again. We haven't had that one for the MS students, and I haven't had anyone on stage using them for a while now, but there was a time when I think a lot of people were using postmodern jukebox. Yeah, so, you know, which is, so it's good now. I think obviously that trend's gone a little bit. When I first started, there was a group called the Papini Sisters, and a lot of people, and I still use a lot of them, but they were really, they were like very popular, and you couldn't go to a burlesque show without hearing one of their tracks. But for some people, that's completely new as well. So for me, listening to Ruby, what's her name, Ruby Lorette, when she did her, well, that was the first time I'd heard any of those songs. There probably for other people there, like stuff they've heard 100 times, but yeah, I don't listen to that sort of music. Yes, well, we all knew yours, but yeah, then there's classics, and like I said to you as well, when you were doing your, Josie did a routine to I Touch Myself, but you just have to lean into it. If it's really well known, you have to just go.
It's brilliant.
It's really, you know. And did you, were you working on, do you have ideas in the back of your mind?
I've got a song, so I'm going to do an Etta James song.
Oh, I love Etta James. It's like my favourite.
I just want to make love to you.
Oh, classic.
And I just absolutely want to take the piss out of everything.
Yes.
Someone should know that. Because the song's about being domestic. And
Yeah.
so I'm going to do it in a complete showgirl outfit. But somehow I'm determined to pull a sandwich out.
Oh.
Because there's a line in it like, I just want to bake you bread and I just want to keep you well fed.
Yep.
Yeah.
Just with the Diet Coke song. Do you remember anyone remember in the 90s?
Yes, this has potential to go awfully pornographic really quickly.
Which is
I
great.
use it. I think
No, yours.
Diet Coke. I was just going to say, I think like just like you're better off like making something kind of leaning into it.
And that's the whole thing. Like I sort of the images of the book is that I think this the line at the very beginning, one of the beginning lines is about what she did. So the whole book, like I want to come out with what she does, but in a full show.
Yeah.
And you know, at some point, like Claire, say some good
So my fronts,
Yeah.
Yeah. But then get to the point where I just start pulling out a feather boa, like, so it's going to be, the whole point is just.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
No, I think that's a good idea. Also, it's like sometimes doing things like that gives you something to do. As you know, like it's like having your chair propped before doing
Exactly,
your shoot. Get do something to do.
but this will definitely be more, like, I think the song just needs. But.
Like the old days, like, you kind of have to do it together. And then the feather roll comes towards the end of it, and it just like a minute. And then you're like, oh,
We're all strung together and stuff like
Yeah.
that, like, it's online.
It should be fun.
That's,
So I also love like hearing the because you know then you get other ideas as well.
So I ran the idea past Asha, she's like, can I figure out how to put a sandwich pocket in the box?
Great.
Yes, you can.
It's one of our students who's very crafty, so he's like she just I don't know how she does it.
challenge is that, yeah, you should make it insulated, so you can screw sandwich in your real life, just in case.
Just in case it can move.
give it to someone in the front row.
Absolutely do that.
Absolutely going to do that.
We're gonna get the subway, like.
It's just gonna be a roll. I don't know how this is
No,
going
like,
to
just
be.
get it exactly so. It's obviously a sandwich.
But like, cause that line comes up twice in the song, like,
Are you gonna
like,
keep
keep you
two
well.
sandwiches?
No,
Well fed.
because the last one's at some point going to be like, this is gonna be my butt. That's.
Oh,